swinging the hammer than the Winston. May be a case of Boston throwing a lot in here for nothing, and the ColorX uses the blade. Come on.
Popo is able to find him fairly early on. Fortunately, the Myeonbong, though, yields a little bit more results. Skill, the range contesting this point, they remain in control. Puck now goes for a Graviton Surge, but is extremely charged up. But Jerry, very comfortable. Able to move up with the Hellfire shotguns.
What's the point? And Ursa has the blade. Let's see if he can actually get good value from it.
Jerry,
nice
from the
play
high
from
ground,
Jerry.
to get rid of Hawk early on here, and Ursa can't really do much about the Biotic Orb. He didn't deflect it in the first place, and he can't stop him from slurping away his vitality, getting a big shatter. But Popo found no one in particular with it. Tries to play over the high ground, it gets nothing. Ursa down early in the fight, but it is traded out now. Boston are down to one supporter. Myeonbong has to lift in the absence of his Lucio. Fusions is forced to return to the rest of his team and try and play some kind of counter dive, but Edison tracks him from the point to his own team's backline and completes the kill. The Atlanta Reign do put the point back in control, and in fairness, they're in a commanding position now. The Atlanta Reign have used all their ultimates. They won't get coalescence in time, but Color Hex descends. Finds two in the swipe of one blade. The Dogman does get that coalescence. It's late in the fight, but the Reign need to brawl for the point anyway. He eventually drops now. As you can see, Erster was forced back by Fusions, and Punk finishes him off. He was very charged.
A lot of players back. Hawk with a Gravitic Flux. Can it get anything?
Massa caught in the corner on the point as he tried to contest as low as he could now. The Uprising close to another sound barrier if they need it, but it's unlikely that they do. And
no, and they don't really have anybody that can contest this point right now. It looks like Color Hex flew over the top. That'll be Punk actually killing himself with his own Hyper Spheres. His big Dynamite, lots of damage coming down from the Dynamite from Edison. So we do get a look now on any of the other ones. That'll be a Bob that comes in from behind. Bob as well here for Boston.
Another environmental. Punk goes over the edge there to the whip shot of Massa. And Bob is taken down early on, but I think Edison got what he wanted done there. The distraction created was enough.
As the Gravitic Flux, they're going to leave it with Myeonbong using the Coalescence. Now the sound barrier comes in, and Ursa's going to blade right after.
He gets the blade. Color Hex was able to find Master there after getting rid of the Immortality field, and the Atlanta Reign, they hope to buy a bit of time with that Batista ability, but the Uprising, Ursa, because of that, and might not just go looking for kills in the backline, but might just have to wait for the Uprising to go forward. Dogman finds Jerry though, but it's, yeah, you're going to be Edison losing his bomb, and there's that coalescence again from Myeonbong. You can see how impactful it is when he gets that available, and honestly, the cooldown is quite amplification matrix in case the Uprising were going to try and contest, and
they
it takes a
rally.
while for Atlanta to get the point. They use rally at the end of the fight, so the Uprising might have a chance to just retake things now. Good Gravitic Flux to start off. That's going to be effective with two players taken down by the four.
Yeah, and it's big. Atlanta doesn't have the Immortality field or like a rally there to try and keep players alive. That'll be Boston flipping the point, and it will be Boston who takes map number one.
Which means Popo gets a little bit less attention, and there it is. There's no shields with a Winston Zarya set up, and Hitscan is perfect against it. Still, Edison is able to fire back across the breach at Jerry and get the trade at the very least. Color Hex has to play careful, and there's a Zenyatta in this Boston composition, so they need to, you know, be, I guess, sequential or incremental in how they move up.
I mean, you lose Punk and you lose Hawk here, and you lose Massa at the start of this. As Fusion now finds Edison up on the high ground, and Boston's just...
Bob goes in, a bit of damage against Massa, but most of that will be shielded. Even a shield bash invested in Bob.
They lose Popo. There's nobody there to heal him. I mean, look at where the position that he's in, even with Primal.
Why are you diving when the rest of your backline is busy dealing with such a threat there? There seems to be a huge disconnect for the Atlanta Reign right now, and Popo's feeding.
Said the Boston Uprising may be able to take point B. This will be the Bob from Edison that goes in. Blade comes through here. So Boston's just rolling them.
That is brutal. Again, Popo returns to the fray very quickly. His Wrecking Ball, but again, gets discorded, gets into the backline, it gets completely ruined.
If they don't go, though, they potentially allow them to build up to Transcendence.
Okay, Hawk discorded though. Popo went in with a barrier initially, and okay, they get rid of Jerry. So the Reign find the fight that they were looking for here, and I think the Uprising's focus was just a little bit split there between both Hawk and Popo. That looks better though. They go more aggressive. They still lose a couple players at the back end of the fight. But...
And the Discord, and he just gets burned down so quick.
Oh, okay, the Coach Gun was too early from Jerry. Ursa's able to get the Dragon Blade after being knocked back and used the 3 dash to close the distance. And now he just sits. He doesn't have to do too much. That's a speculative transcendence.
Plus Blade. They're going to use Blade with it.
Go forward now. Colorhex going to try and go for the aggressive Blade. Backed up by the healing, but Punk was the completionist there. He gets two with that gravitic flux, but without fusions and Halo especially, no more progress to be made for the Uprising here. And it looks getting rid of Hawk would be massive here. He's getting close to another Graviton surge. Throws this skill to Ursa, who goes in with the Blade. Great opening there for the Atlanta Reign now, and Ursa's able to find 3. Immortality field thrown out just to make it nice and clean on the Atlanta Reign. Okay, looking like a different team here. Great recovery from Atlanta, and they'll prevent the Uprising map from finishing the map.
Oh, it's a huge defensive stand.
It's pretty huge. So Edison needs to try and get some space somehow. Okay, Popo finds Myunbong. That's not what the Uprising were looking for there. A key vulnerability in the defensive setup has been exploited. Now Jerry's going to come back in. Remember, Myunbong just got resurrected, so it's actually a 5v5 right now, and the Uprising play the disengage, re-engage game so well.
Well, that's the problem with having McCree. Like, when we saw Edison up on the high ground, sure, you can get that first kill, but did you see where Jerry was playing, where he was able to pick him off from?
The line of sight here on the payload, look at him just keeping his head down now. Really great presence of mind from Halo, though, to give him just a little bit of healing. Now he dashes to his backline, and the Uprising is showing such a great sustain game here. Edison has to push in, but that kinetic grasp makes it hard. Possum has to connect. Ursa has to blade, though, so eventually the Reign have to leverage pretty much all of their offensive ultimates to get that 110.
The Blade with no transcendence is really what seals the deal.
Out the primal range by diving, but actually just dives to the high ground and not into the backline there. That's very clever. So Atlanta, it's almost like a feint the way that they make the dive happen. Here's the trade though. Jerry goes down, but Dogman's been removed. The Reign have to damage, but they don't want a long fight if they can help it. And
the transcendence is it's like a second late there. They're trying to keep Colorhex alive when he's using the Blade.
Discord Orb on Popo though seals the deal. Cart is being contested right now on the point, but Hawk is probably pretty charged up at this point in the fight, and yeah, Punk just gets lasered on down. Hawk, discorded, doesn't have a personal barrier right now, but is able to play out in the open with that immortality field deployed towards him. And nice work by Myunbong, by the way, making it so Hawk can't actually push up with this charge.
Well, Halo as well. Halo able to stall the point out on the brig for a very long time. The Bob comes in, but I don't think this will be good enough for Boston. It'll be Urster with a Blade. Edison pushing on forward should be, oh, no, Myunbong takes him out, but he'll die to one of the other players soon. So this is really dangerous. He's going to get it now. He should be able to use it, potentially keep players alive. Oh, through the grab, but not really. It's going to be a pulse bomb coming on through, taking out fusions.
Transcendence now for Myunbong here. It doesn't look like it's going to be enough, though. It doesn't do much to burst damage, that's for sure. And the Atlanta Reign come up with the goods here on Numbani. They push in and out, sort of disengaged style.
And look at Myunbong compared to Dogman. He's already got the Ant Matrix. Dogman at 40%, and they'll drop the Ant Matrix now down on the bridge. Oh, 2 shots from Jerry and a Dogman. That'll be 2 kills for Jerry here. This Boston should be able to take this first point off the back of this.
Jerry's looking pretty slick on the Ash so far. And the Atlanta Reign, I mean, everything kind of gets turned on its head now when you're playing Winston in defense, right? You do have to give ground in order to actually
how many players does Jerry need to kill to take the point? He got Popo extremely low.
Just 4, I think, yeah. Edison now is able to pick him off, and still the Reign want to contest it. Why not? I mean, you've got players that are staggered here, so you may as well try and burn a little bit of clock. That's 2 ticks, though, for the Uprising. The Reign probably want to drop in one more time. Colorhex, though, deals with Edison up on that high ground here, and okay, Boston, fair play. Looking pretty darn good. I'd say the Atlanta Reign look more rage left, but where's the rest of Atlanta? It is literally just Popo here inside this small room. No one able to help him out.
No, and get Urster back in the mix, and it'll be a grab that comes through. Urster with a Blade. That's into the immortality field. Now he deals with it. He's able to get 2 players with the Blade.
Looks like he'll get Halo on a dash-through finish off here. Yes, and the Atlanta Reign get the cleanup. That fight, though, man, let's backtrack a little bit, because it looked awfully strange to me. Atlanta were waiting for Boston to commit. They still have the Reinhardt to work with. Hawk is going to grab directly down, and Dogman gets that immortality field. So the Reign are shrugging off a lot of Boston's damage, and Boston look better when they get to wait for the Reign to come to them.
An Ant Matrix here as they're still trying to fight this. Fusions with a Shatter, what?
Huge turnaround. Fusion's still pretty low though, so he takes a brief breather. But Myunbong's going to be able to keep him topped up, but Jerry pursues Popo to the ends of the earth now. Tries to use Bob to get a knock up on Hawk to keep him off the point, and it works. with their Winston and Tracer matching up as their Winston being left out at sea. Hawk gets rid of Halo early here though, so I mean, look, you've already managed to drag Boston's Brigitte out of position now, and Punk is completely on his own here.
Yep, they're already down fusions as well. So you lose your main tank, you lose your break. I believe Halo like just kind of gets down from.
Be careful of Edison now. It's less risky for Edison to hit the backline. There's far less peel to deal with a Tracer. So maybe not much respect to Edison being given there, but yep, the aforementioned able to find 2 kills in that fight. And
that was really poor by Boston.
Look, I think Zen Batiste is greedy in this particular setup. I think you're trying to make it harder for the enemy's Winston to do much, and look, I think you did.
When we saw Super last week, and we kind of did a review, that Josh and some of the other guys were worried about, is that Super didn't really want to challenge the Genjis one-on-one, and you gotta have Color Hex feel confident enough to get up.
Speaking of Dynamite, that one just got swatted back at the rain, and Edison goes down early. Oh my, Byombong! I mean, fantastic. He just goes for an Ant Matrix kill there, and there wasn't enough time for Edison to respond. By the looks of things, but Ursa comes back in with the blade, and great recovery from Atlanta. They're forced to use a couple of key ultimates, but I mean, as far as ult for ult goes, it's not unreasonable, especially with only 6 seconds left in the round, Matt.
It doesn't look like Boston's going to be able to get a touch. Punk switches over to Wrecking Ball as Jerry gets Masa, but it doesn't matter. As now
5 players from Atlanta, Matt, they're still trying to apply pressure to the point. No big Batiste cooldown, and they've lost fusions. There's a 5v5.
Yeah, so Fusions gets really weak. He's taking damage from Edison and Ursa on both sides as Masa pushes up on the break.
Punk goes back. Pulse bomb. Punk goes down. Edison cleans him off, and there it is. Eventually the range. They get what they came for, Matthew. Ultimately, it didn't take too much, and down by Dogman. So he probably needs to wait for the free Genji dash from Color Hex either way. A lot of little micro interactions going to be happening here, but well, sometimes people just get blown up. Hawk was suspended in midair there with that with Gravitic Flux and was removed. Fusions has primal rage, but the Rain have done a good job, Matt, of disengaging to try and recover, but losing Edison as well does not bode well.
Well, they'll go in as Popo, not close to primal rage. He'll get on the point, he'll die rather quickly. And what's big there is they don't have to use the blade to do it. It's a Gravitic Flux from Pop.
Is more important than what ultimates can be used and where people are positioned.
Yeah, it's there's not really much to talk about when one team gets a first pick off on a player that has. Yeah, there it is. You don't have a defensive ultimate, so your best case is to just kind of throw the grab at the Genji. They're able to deal with it rather quickly.
You know what's so interesting about that as well?
Because they don't really do a great job appealing for him at times. He used it right away. Now you don't have it for this blade.
Yeah, and Ursa knows it as well. Myeonbong, his first target, Immortality field taken down pretty quickly here, but the Transcendence to follow it up would have been pretty nice. Regardless, the Atlanta, so much so that they had to go for an Immortality field to cover up the deficit in healing capacity. Hawk has managed to maintain a decent amount of charge here. Punk gets melted down for scrap. It's going to be a Transcendence now for Myeonbong as they push on in. Hawk is well charged up, and Color Hex couldn't stand up against that. And the Uprising aren't able to get that second checkpoint here on Nirvana. Not a good omen. Forces him out of position. And now Edison is ready to deploy a pulse bomb.
And we've seen them do this in the past Atlanta. That'll be an Ant Matrix that comes down from Dogman, 2 kills through it. Pulse bomb from Edison on the fusions. They'll be able to roll over them here. Is that when they play, whether it's Popo or Gator on the Wrecking Ball?
Dragon Blade is available, of course, but they lost Edison early once more. And again, that's punishing. I mean, Boston just used that Air Matrix there to get some early damage. It's traded out, though. Myeonbong is definitely a vulnerability for the Uprising right now. But Ursa is punished for the kill. It's at least traded out, and I think Boston are happy with that. If they can at least trade the kill onto Myeonbong, then they stand in good stead to win the fight still. This is broken down a little bit, but the Atlanta Reign are just trying to see what they can get with only 4 players or so.
You will then have a free grab, pretty much. Which, any amounts of kills that come off of that, you're in a good spot. Ursa takes out Jerry straight away.
Again, we overanalyze it. Sometimes it's the first pick that's all that matters. And with Jerry going down so early on in the piece, the ultimates may not really be that big a factor. Here's a Transcendence, but it's too late to save fusions, and it wouldn't have kept him alive anyway. Not good for the Boston Uprising now. Punk is trying to deal with Ursa. Ursa gets past. The accretion wasn't available. Now he's gotten into the cookie jar. He comes out with Myeonbong in pieces, and Well, Jerry able to trade that kill, but that is all. The Atlanta Reign have cleared everything they had to get through, except for Fusions on the Wrecking Ball, who doesn't last too long at all. The Atlanta Reign finally shake the monkey off their back, or so it would seem, with Color Hex going down so early. Halo's going to try and stall out the car a little bit more. Punk goes down, and Edison will just, okay, yeah, just recall on the car. Why not? Stays alive. Grab is there, and they've done it. The Atlanta Reign finally win a series in which they...